Welcome to Business Casual. I am Mihae Ahn, your host and author of The Stories We Tell and Perfectly Incomplete. Business Casual brings you unfiltered conversations with badass, inspiring, highly accomplished women. I am passionate about and believe in the power of sharing stories, our authentic, raw, incomplete stories, getting beyond the polished LinkedIn profiles to the real humans behind the titles. My guest today is Jennifer Williams. Jennifer specializes in business transitions to employee ownership and has extensive experience helping business owners navigate this evolving landscape. I appreciate Jennifer's practical wisdom and her deep understanding of the human side of business transitions, especially the identity challenges that come with letting go of something you've built. Some key takeaways from our discussion include employee ownership aligns employees with business goals and creates meaningful rewards for their contributions. Identity can be deeply tied to business ownership, making transitions challenging. Having hobbies and community outside of work helps maintain a balanced identity. Please enjoy this thoughtful and informative conversation with Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. Really good to meet you.
Nice to meet you also.
Yes, we got connected through Laura, my coach and mentor. Absolutely adore her. How do you know Laura?
I know Laura through the Mihae CEO forums. I had reached out to her through that. So, yeah, she is quite fantastic.
She is. Are you a member as well, or?
I'm an advisor to Mihae.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. Got
hmm
it. Yes. I looked you up obviously before our recording. I went to your website and also saw the podcast that you are hosting and quite fascinated by the work that you do. And I was looking forward to our conversations to learn more about what you do and how you got to where you are now. So maybe we start there with short intro and please educate me and my audience about the work you do.
Sure. So I would say I focus on business transitions to employee ownership. And that could be for companies that are growing and expanding, and that want to attract and retain their key staff and want interesting incentives to do that. And they want to be competitive in the market. And so I work with those companies to design and implement equity ownership strategies where employees may have a small stake in the business, but it aligns the employees to the overall growth and strategy, and allows the employees to benefit in the profits of their labor, right? Like they're showing up every day and working really hard and committing to the company. And then when the company is profitable, those profits get shared with employees. So it's a way to align business goals and objectives and keep people motivated to work there. So I do that. And I also work with businesses who where owners are looking for an exit. And maybe those owners are concerned about what would happen with their employees if they were to sell to a foreign buyer or private equity or a competitor. Or maybe they're just really interested in keeping the business locally owned, especially in smaller communities. And so I work with those business owners to facilitate a sale of the business to the employees. And so there's many different ways we can do that. And I think one of the things that differentiates me is that I've spent over 20 years in employee ownership. I was part of an employee owned company. I was on the board. I was the CEO. I understand the messy governance that comes with being in employee owned companies, and therefore know how to design company structure so that it's not messy. And then since then, I've also spent another, almost 11 years designing and implementing employee focused solutions. So, over 20 years of experience in this employee ownership space with a real focus on like culture and people and not just the transaction. I'm really not just about the transaction. I'm really more about finding the cultural fit and the governance fit and making sure it works for both the owners and the employees.
Is that a relatively new concept?
It's not new. The US has been doing employee share ownership plans for 50 years. Um, it's and Canada has as well. We have not had legislation around it until last year. So we do have new legislation in Canada that is supporting this succession planning option for business owners. It has some tax incentives built into it. We expect that legislation to further develop over time to incentivize Canadian business owners to sell to their employees. And there's a growing interest, I think, as we look around and look at, who are going to buy all the businesses that the baby boomer generation has been so successful at building and growing. I think employee ownership offers a nice alternative to that. And so I think it's a growing space, but it's not new.
Right. Because it is in a way, I believe common knowledge that big corporations, obviously there's like stock options and whatnot, but for privately held companies, especially smaller
Exactly.
size companies, yeah, I am hearing more and more these days. But when I began my career a few decades ago, it wasn't really a thing that I heard often.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's growing. Yeah.
mhm.
Hmm.
So how did you start your career, Jennifer?
Mm. Yeah, so ironically, I started my career in the not-for-profit sector. I worked in entrepreneurial training and development for women, both in Canada and also in West Africa. I worked in Northern Ghana for 3 years on a microcredit and business training program. During that time, I really started to see how business can be used not just as a tool to make money, but also as a way to change some of the social dynamics we have in our society and economic dynamics that may not be serving people. And so, one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about employee ownership is because it does distribute wealth more broadly in our society. It gives people an access to own businesses when they may not otherwise have had the access to own business. Like, if you don't have capital, um, it's tough to get into buying. You can't just buy a business, and it's hard to start a business if you don't have the financial resources to do so. So, having employee ownership as an economic model, I think, is a great way. And I think it aligns with Canadian values. Like, we want everyone to do well in our society. I don't think we don't want people living on the streets, and we don't want people to be marginalized. And so I think sharing ownership and fostering that kind of middle income across the country where everyone has access to that is something I'm really motivated by.
What is from owner's perspective, the motivation for them to go
Yeah.
this route? What
Yeah,
benefits?
it's a good question. A lot of the owners that I work with, they they really value the contributions that their team makes. And they recognize that they can't build their business without those people. And so they want to reward those people in a way that's meaningful. For people who are aligned in that way, I think it offers a great option for business owners to align their values with an ownership structure that rewards their employees. I would say it is a um, more popular among younger generations. Like, this isn't an idea that years and years ago, people would have been like, oh, well, although there have been employee-owned companies around for a long time and work in co-ops around for a long time, but it is a different mindset. If your motivation in life is to build the biggest bank account, then employee ownership isn't going to be for you. But if your motivation in life is to build a business that has meaning and has a legacy and leave something for the future while making money doing that, then I think it offers a great alternative.
Yeah, I'm not a business owner, so I cannot really say that I know their perspectives or whatnot. But from my experience, many leaders in general, not just
Mm,
owners, many of them are type A's. They would
mm,
like to have many things under their control and tight control. And from there, they uh, operate with confidence. That control gives them confidence and
mm,
comfort. So
mm,
I can see not everyone is fan of
Mm.
yes, this structure.
Well, and I'll just add that, the thing that's interesting, I think, is we have this perception that, if you provide some ownership to your employees, that you're giving up control. But if you're growing a business and you sell 10% of your company to your employees, or do that through a profit sharing program, you're not giving up control. You still have control of the company, right? But now you have minority shareholders. We make it clear that who still makes the decisions, the board of directors still makes the decisions, right? Those things are all still in place. And so I think it's important to not confuse what having a minority employee ownership stake means with control, because I think a lot of advisors will say, well, don't do that because it makes it messy and complicated, but it doesn't have to.
Hmm. What would be top three recommendations or advices that you would give to business owners who are entertaining this option?
So let's speak about it from the perspective of, if you're thinking about it from the perspective of exiting your business. So let's say you want to retire in the coming 5 years and you're not really sure how you're going to do that. You don't have a plan to do that. My first advice is develop a plan, like work with someone to get clear on what's important to you, what your timelines are. Start working on the emotional pieces that come with stepping away from your business, because if you've been building and growing a business for the last 20, 30 years, and you're about to retire, it's going to be challenging, right? There's a lot of, your entire identity is wrapped up in that business most of the time. And so you need a process, and you need to be working on, like, 5 years ahead of time, ideally, on making a plan and working on those pieces to get you there. That's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is to know all of your options and to know the pros and cons of all of your options. And so, yes, you could sell to a third party, or yes, you could sell to your employees, um, and understand what may come with a sale to a third party, right? Like, are you going to have to stay involved in the business for 1, 2, 3 years to facilitate that sale? Is there going to be performance-based metrics attached to your payout on your business? Like, those are the kinds of things you want to get clear on now, because if you're thinking that you're going to go to market tomorrow and sell your business, that's not going to happen. It takes time, especially to find the right buyer and the right terms and conditions that are meaningful for you. So starting to set that out. What are the terms and conditions that are important to me? Am I willing to get paid out over time? Do I want all my cash up front? Those kinds of things are really important to know. So get a clear view of all of the different options. And I would say the third thing would be to start thinking about preparing your business for that transition. So making sure you have strong systems in place and you have good internal communication, and think about, if you extract yourself from the business, where are the holes that might need to be filled, and how can you fill those now so that when you do step away, the business can run smoothly?
Then how about the businesses that the owners are not really in the stage of retiring and selling, but more of the other motivations, like motivating employees and so on.
Yeah. So in that particular case, when a business is, especially when they're growing, especially when they're looking at finding ways to incentivize their team. So I often talk to businesses when they're in the process of thinking about a profit sharing program. So you want to do profit sharing, it's going to be based on results, but um, think about how to align that profit sharing not just to a 1 year result, but kind of to a broader overall view. And so, as an example, like, you can always drive profit into 1 year, but at the expense of another. But if you look at designing that profit sharing program to roll into an employee share ownership plan or some sort of equity plan, then that incentivizes everyone towards the same holistic goals rather than a short-term profit goal. And so, again, similarly, I always encourage people to get really clear about what they're trying to achieve. Are they just trying to motivate 1 year's results, or are they trying to grow the value of the company and they're trying to have, multi-year results. Are they trying to retain people and attract people depending on what their goals are? And then to look at if your incentive plans are meeting that, and if you have the right, profit sharing program or LTIP in place to be able to do that. And if not, to talk to someone like me who can help you design something that would meet your objectives.
When we are talking about the boomers retiring and so on, one of your advices was creating plan, right, and knowing the options. And in that conversation, you briefly touched on our identity wrapped around our professional work, the work that
Mm-hmm.
we do. I think that is so common, and at least for me, my identity is too attached to the work that I
Mm,
do, I think. And that leads to quite a bit of workaholism that I have been
mm,
noticing in myself, which I am actively working on. But it is slow process and it is difficult process because my
okay.
identity is just so attached to my work self and the work outcome that I produce. Do you have any experience there or stories that you can share with us, whether it is your story or what you heard and seen?
Mm. Yeah, so I know this quite intimately because I myself have been through two business transitions, where I was an owner and a leader of those businesses. And so in both cases, in the first instance, I had been an owner of the company for 10 years. I had been in the CEO role for the last five. This business was so much a part of my identity, and my leadership of that business was so much a part of my identity that when I left, it was truly like a death. Like there was a part of me, a part of my identity that needed to die. Like I was no longer that person that I defined myself as for 10 years. And so I was fortunate. I worked with a coach, a very talented coach at the time, to really process that and work to redefine my identity so that I could, you know, continue on in my work world and in that journey. And that was a process and it took time and it was really important to do that. Recently, I transitioned out of a family business that I owned with my partner, my life partner. And similarly, like that has been a process of letting go and redefining because I've done it several times and because I have support like coaching and other tools that I use to try and ground that identity and not just being about work. I would say I'm practiced at it. And so it's something that I bring to my clients, right? When my clients are in that situation, I can coach them and support them through that journey because it's real. It's really real.
Is there one particular tool that you would like to share or can share?
I have a weekly group that I meet with that is it's actually a dance practice. And I've been meeting with this group. I dance with this group every Tuesday, and I have for the last 10 years. I'd say having anchors outside of your work that put you in community with other people where they see you not in your work world, but where you can actually be a different, like a more true version of yourself. So something that you love to do. And maybe it's golf, or maybe it's hiking, or maybe it's an open water swimming group. Whatever it is, like that aligns with your interests in a space where you can weekly convene with those people where they can see you not as the CEO, not as the leader, but just as like the human being that shows up right now to be present in this activity, I think is really valuable because it helps to just ground your true identity and not your work identity to something.
Oh, that is helpful. I'm taking notes. Yeah, I don't think I have. Yeah. In so I I believe in work-life harmony.
Mm,
So the work that my full-time job is marketing. So I'm VP marketing for tech companies. So that is my
okay.
full-time work. Outside of full-time work, I have my books. I'm an author,
Yes.
published two books so far. I'm doing this podcast and building my identity around it
Hmm.
with the work that I do. Because there are many reasons for anything that we do, right? But one of the main reasons why I write and doing podcast is to share stories. So books
Hmm.
are sharing my stories, and podcast is to share amazing women like you, their stories, so that
Hmm.
way we can feel more humans in our daily life
Hmm.
and feel connected to each other on a human level. So
Yeah.
that is my passion, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing all of this. And so that is my hobby, what I really enjoy doing, but at the same time, that is also my professional identity
Right.
attached to it. So
Yes.
when I think
Yes.
about it, what else do I do? Yeah, something for me to
Hmm.
think about.
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hmm.
So dance, you said. Other than that, do you have any other hobbies that you do?
I have lots of hobbies. Now that I don't own two businesses, I have lots of hobbies. I do a little bit of growing some food, and I started making kombucha recently. I love open water swimming, so lake swimming, and hiking. Those are some of my favorite, especially at this time of year, some of my favorite things to do. I also have a bunch of kids, so they keep me busy, and I'm on a board of a hockey association, and you know, all those kinds of things that come with parenting as well.
Yes. How old are they?
They are between the ages of 21 and almost 12.
So busy. How many kids do you have,
I
Jennifer?
have four. Yeah.
Four.
Hmm.
Wow. How did you do it? How did you raise four kids and own multiple businesses? What was your strategy?
Yeah, the strategy was, um, there wasn't a strategy. Let's be real. Was there a strategy? I think it was just
We make
survival
it
mode.
work somehow,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, especially during COVID, that was crazy, um, because our food business grew by over 700% during COVID, and the kids were all home, and yeah, that was nuts. But um, yeah, I think the advantage of being a business owner is you have lots of flexibility, so you can be present when you need to be present, and you can work at other times. I have good people around me in terms of like my staff and people that I work with that support that. I just am very hyper focused on what needs to get done, and I'm a very quick decision maker, which is I don't spend a lot of time humming and hawing about what to do. I'm just like, this is the thing to do, and we're going to do it. Um, I don't also spend a lot of time doing hair and makeup. So I think like the shortcuts in life, right? Like how do you find an extra hour in your day? And that's kind of some of how I do that.
For the businesses that you led and owned, or did you start your own business, or did you acquire? How that journey panned out?
Yeah, so I have joined an existing business with other owners. I have acquired a business, and I have started a business. So all different journeys, and they're all quite different. I've done all three.
How the decision-making process went? So I'm sure very different from acquiring to starting, for example. So what was the criteria that you used to start and also to acquire?
So in the starting of the business, it was more of a slow kind of like something I was doing, um, that gradually grew, right? So it wasn't a full-time endeavor initially. It was more of a like kind of part-time endeavor, and so that kind of grew over time. In the case of the acquiring the business, it was really a combination of right time, right place. My family was in a transition, and we were trying to think of what were the next steps for both my partner and I. And a business that we were customers of The owner wanted to move back to Toronto to be closer to her family, and we were like, huh, that could be a good opportunity. Why don't we do that? And so we decided to acquire that business. Um, yeah, and that was really based on, is this the right time and place, and is this, is it a worthwhile investment, and do we feel like doing this, and all those things.
Yes. Where are you based in, Jennifer?
I'm based in Ottawa.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Hmm.
And the starting your own business. So I guess idea was there, and while you were doing other things, you've slowly nurtured that into whatever stage that it required you for full-time basis.
Correct.
Is that how
Yeah.
it worked? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And is that the
Yeah,
business that you are doing now, or?
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
I
now,
find. Mhm.
go ahead.
Sorry, no, I interrupted you. Please.
I was going to say, yeah, that's now, my full-time focus is this supporting business owners in this journey to employee ownership is entirely what I'm focused on. Yeah.
Yes. So then this business that you're doing that you slowly started, how that idea came about? Was that from your other full-time job that you noticed things, noticed gaps?
No, so I had, after I left the employee-owned company, I was really motivated by that business model as a way to do business differently. And so I started collaborating with another company that was doing design and ownership of employee ownership. And so I worked with them as a contract consultant for many years, and then recognized over time that what I was doing was slightly different and more diverse, and slowly started building that out.
Sounds like quite aligned with what you are helping businesses with is quite aligned with B Corp, B
Hmm.
Corporation certificate.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you familiar with that? Have you been involved in that business? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely very familiar with, and one of the things that's actually really great is for B Corp really aligns broad, equitable ownership structures into its criteria. And so if you are a B Corp and you're worried about hitting your scores, having some sort of employee ownership will help you to get there quicker.
Yes, I remember saying that I helped our business achieve B Corp
Oh, amazing.
status. Yes, I am big believer in equity and justice.
Hmm.
Have been
Me too.
always since I was young. So that was and is still, yeah, passion of mine. Yes.
Amazing.
Jennifer, I really appreciate you carving out the time. I mean, we didn't even know each other, right? Just through Laura, we got introduced and
Hmm.
graciously carved out the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's really great to meet you.
Yes, you too.
Hmm.
Before I let you go, I will ask you a question of, there anything else that you were hoping to cover and share that we didn't get to cover? While you are thinking about that, one more question from me is, what is next for you? I mean, you've gone through, it sounds like multiple changes and transformations throughout your life and career. What is next for you? So that is one question from me, and I will leave it up to you to um, share. Yes.
Sure. So I would just say, so in terms of, one last comment, I think often people will go to their lawyers or their accountants for advice around this. And I think often lawyers and accountants don't, it's new, right? The employee ownership trust legislation is really new. It's only been a year. And so I would just say, like, if you're not getting the information you need, to be sure to reach out to other people that have that information, because not everyone is up to speed on how it can work and what it could mean. That's the one thing I would say. In terms of what's next for me, we're just really excited at Firefly to be building this business and supporting more and more companies in this journey to employee ownership. And so that's our focus right now. I'm also launching two of my oldest two kids into the world. They're, so between those two things, yeah, that's the focus right now.
By the way, the name, I find it quite interesting, quite catchy. How did you come up with the name?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've done a variety of different bits of work for people over the years. One of the things that kind of commonly, I think, differentiates the work that I do is that I help people find clarity. And so the idea of shining the light, like that, something shining the light, and it's firefly season right now, they're out. I love firefly season. So magical. And I think sometimes that's true that when you don't have a plan or when you're feeling kind of lost, if someone can just hold a light up for you and help you see clearly, it's kind of magical. And so sometimes it feels a little bit too fluffy, and I don't, I wonder, like, should we rebrand it? And we have lots of questions. We're, constantly debating that, but that's the idea that, like, we're here to help you find your path by shining the light on the direction forward.
I'm so glad I asked that question. I
Mm,
love that name, Jennifer, and the meaning
mm,
behind it. Because
thank you.
when I was so lost, I still am navigating through when is the journey gonna end, right? I think it is continuous journey until our very last breath. But
Hmm.
when I was quite lost in my 20s, later in my 20s and early 30s, that books, because I'm book nerd, books were so helpful. Other people
Mm,
sharing their stories and their struggles and how they
mm,
found their way out, those were the shining light for me. It felt like I was going through big, long, dark tunnel, and
mm,
there was
hmm,
lighting here and there by other
hmm.
people sharing their stories.
Yeah,
Hence, I'm passionate about the work that I do with book and
love
podcast
it.
because
Yeah,
I was helped
I
that
love
way.
that. Hmm.
So I love the meaning behind the name, and I love the name.
Mm, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, once again for sharing your perspectives, the work that you do, and your stories. Really appreciate um, everything and love to keep in touch. Have more questions, and I think
Yeah,
more questions will come as I'm reflecting our conversation today and re-listening to our episode together. Um, Love to stay in touch.
agreed. Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Talk
Okay,
to you later.
okay, take care.
Bye. That's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember you have more agency than you often realize. Choose your stories. I'll see you next time.